jumps in. Okay. We are back for more Wet Ink Wednesday, and that means I'm talking to a creator who's involved in one of Wet Ink Games' projects. And being the nature of linear time, this is going to appear after Garbage and Glory is already on Kickstarter. So I'm talking to Sam Brieck, the artist for Garbage and Glory. And Sam, welcome to my little show.
Hey Matt, thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's great. I said artist out loud, and as I say it, I look behind you and I see the drawers. Like that is
Oh
classic
yeah,
artist kit, the drawers where you lay down the sheets and
my
stuff
head
like
is
that. So
hiding most of the mess back there, but
uh I'm very excited to talk to you today and interview you about like being a nerd and being involved in creativity and stuff like that. Um, and especially you being the first of my set of interviews for Garbage and Glory, because it really did this you started this project, whether you do it or not, when you were drawing those raccoons. That was the beginning of the project.
I honestly couldn't have imagined.
Well, and we'll get to all of that. Um, in a minute, but I want to know how you, I mean, how do you, there's, okay, so Sam is born, and then at some point later, things happen, and then you're have a booth with raccoon art at it at Origins. Like there's that's a very specific, like nerdy context to where we first ran into each other
Right, yeah.
at a gaming convention, with you already having some like these adventuring raccoons with their trash equipment. And I, you don't just there's days in between, right? You've lived a whole life before that moment, right? So like,
Right,
what
yeah.
are some of those things? Like how did you get in that to the art and all of it, like gaming and all of it?
Yeah. Man, it's kind of a meandering journey. I mean, I think I've always kind of been like drawing as a kid. I wouldn't say I wasn't like a prodigy at all. Like, I've got a burn box of plenty of all my old drawings as a kid. And I'm like, yeah, no one needs to see these. But I think it was like in middle school, I kind of realized like, I think I wanna be an artist, and I think what I wanted to do with that, I don't necessarily know if I had a good idea of that. I think I wanted to be like a cartoonist. I wanted to um, illustrate for books. I do remember like even as a kid, like designing board games and stuff. Not like the mechanic part of it, but I like the idea of like making worlds that people could
Yeah.
be in and imagine themselves in, and I could imagine myself in, and I don't know, drawing art for games that seemed at the time like, oh yeah, this is like a little world, like elaborate pinball games or nonsensical board games that were completely unplayable. Couldn't play it at all, but
It's like Candyland needs more squirrels in it or whatever. I'm going to draw Candyland but squirrels, and or whatever,
right, yeah.
like there's something there, right? So, so I mean, like, did you grow up, I mean, most people grow up with the Milton Bradley but games about this size, the game boxes. You got Sorry, and you've got Candyland, and you've got, I don't know why I'm thinking of this, but there's an Uncle Wiggly game that my younger sister had. But anyway, it's Mousetrap is another classic from probably our era. Like, did you like have family game night, or was that just sort of like, oh, the guy down the street, we used to play games sometimes? Was it, were you a game playing family?
Not a ton. I mean, we would sometimes. There were plenty of sibling fights and that we had over games that I think limited that. But I mean, I always
Hmm.
kind of, we play like Risk and stuff, and um, we didn't play Monopoly a whole lot. That always we always got in trouble as kids playing Monopoly. We got way too competitive. But like stuff like that, like even with some of our friends, like I never actually grew up with D&D, but we were basically playing D&D. Like we'd get together with like our neighborhood friends, and like someone would be the game master, and it would be like a sci-fi setting, and we're just completely making up everything.
Yeah, I mean,
Very
yeah.
very, very Calvin Ball role playing games, like just making up the rules as you go. Like, hey, we're gonna roll dice here, or okay, we're gonna do a coin flip. Okay, we're gonna do rock paper scissors, or
I
uh,
mean, that's great. I mean, that's really my
yeah,
first. real role playing is that as well, where I was like, all right, well, so this happens, guys. I drew a little hex map. I had a grid paper and I was drawing tiny little map, and like they have to like, you want to go north, south, there's mountains here, and like they would
Mhm.
go and I'd be like, all right, I don't know, let's see how many monsters you meet, and I would roll some dice, and like it was yeah. Uh
Yeah, and sometimes we would do that, and I loved like the creating like little like sometimes I would just like make little like maps like that for myself just to like envision the world. And sometimes we would do that. Sometimes it'd be a dry erase board, and then sometimes it would be like we're just like walking around a park and like playing the game and talking and discussing as we're going. It was very like all over the place, and no, it definitely like uh, my imagination is like pretty wild. So it was fun to like be able to play in that space.
Yeah. I want to ask you about your medium of your art here in a second, but I have one more question about sort of like getting
Sure.
into being an artist. Did you have like an example of somebody that like who is your first person like when you realized like, oh, somebody drew this, somebody made this map. There's credits at the end of this comic book. Like who were some of those things where you first
Yeah. I
like because
mean,
you said in middle school you were kind of thinking about it already, but like, what was that again? Was that something you were always connected with? Like maybe if or was there a moment where you realized like someone made this?
yeah, I mean, there was like a lot of like artists that like I really enjoyed growing up, but I think the first one I can point to were like seeing that they did that and it clicked like, oh, I want to do that too. I think honestly it was like Bill Watterson with Calvin and
Mm,
Hobbes.
yeah.
We grew up with Calvin and Hobbes, which we like shouldn't have because Calvin and Hobbes is like not for kids, and we definitely like got in
It's
trouble because we're like reading Calvin and Hobbes and we're 6 years old and we don't know what irony is and like Calvin's not a role model. So we
uh,
would emulate Calvin and it was we got in so much trouble. But like
did
seeing
you
the
ever nail nails to the top of a coffee table?
right, yes, yeah, that kind of stuff. And um but like seeing like the way Bill Watterson drew and just like the joy in that, I don't know, like that really like clicked with me. I was like, man, that like makes me want to draw, makes me want to like, you know, it makes me want to like really do something with that. And that
Yeah.
even like today, like I still like flip through his stuff and just like
Yeah, I mean,
not even like emulating his style, but just like the joy. I mean, sometimes I'm sure his style is like a huge influence for me, but just I don't know the way he draws and portrays stuff and like the joy that's in there. I think that really like there's so many other artists that have influenced me too, but that would like that I think was the first one where I was like, yeah,
yeah.
this is what I want to do.
Yeah, I mean, I loved Calvin. Like down this bookshelf is like all the Calvin stuff. So,
Oh yeah,
yeah,
yeah, I've got it all back there too.
yeah. It's good stuff. And yeah, Watterson is a great, I think influential in many people of our about our age.
Hmm.
Um, all right, so you're in it. You're a professional artist. You're making stuff. You're drawing. You've talked about your crazy imagination. I mean, some of the prints that you have of like lily pad worlds and like swirling mountainscapes with like cloud scenes behind them and stuff like that are some of the big scale prints that I've seen of yours. Yeah, you've got this sort of like surrealist landscape kind of art and stuff like that. But like I'm really curious. I was thinking about it because you've been doing we've seen your art throughout the last year as you've been working on Garbage and Glory, and you'll submit like, I did this little colored pencil sketch, and then it's like, oh great, okay. And then I realized as I was thinking about talking to you today, I don't actually know what comes after that as far as like the process. I don't even know what medium you work in. Do you do Prismacolors, or like is it digital, or is it digital on top of Prismacolors, or and then do you when you actually print out a print, do you have like a printer in your house that you print out these prints from, or do you have to send those out, or like I don't even know anything about your process. So like I want to hear about all of it, right? So
Yeah.
like,
Well, so it's kind of I like to work in a variety of ways. A lot of the stuff like the raccoons, like the raccoon like stickers and all that stuff. Those that that's all done. well, it's not all done. Like pretty much whether I'm working like digitally or traditionally, I always like drawing in a sketchbook first, like physically on the paper. I don't know. It's more satisfying. I feel like I can. I weirdly feel like more free doing that. So all pencil and paper. It's always how it starts. Then a lot of times, like I'll if I'm doing digital stuff, I like to work in Procreate on the iPad Pro. Love it. I honestly used to hate working digitally until I started using Procreate. I'm like, oh, this actually like feels like I'm making art and not like clicking keys and stuff. That maybe I just suck at Photoshop. So
Well,
um,
tools are important, like getting
right,
the,
yeah,
I don't, not an artist, but I can imagine that like the software is as important as the nibs and the ink, it's
yeah, and even like how it feels too. Like it's got to like feel and be enjoyable to work with. And yeah, Procreate like for digital stuff, like I love it. Like I'll scan in the pencil drawings and a lot of times I'll just do like digital ink over that and then add colors and kind of paint over that. And a lot of like my freelance and professional work ends up being that too. Um, which I like working that way. There's a lot of cool stuff you can do with that. But I also really enjoy traditional painting too. Like the main way I like to paint is like a acrylics on like watercolor paper or illustration board. And I'll get it like really watery and washy. So it looks like watercolor and I'll get all those textures, but because it's acrylic, I can, just layer it up forever. And, once it dries, I can put another layer down and keep really vibrant colors. And
right. Your most of your
yeah,
pieces are very vibrantly colored.
yeah, it's a really satisfying way to work. I don't do it a whole lot I don't have a whole lot of opportunities to like do that professionally aside from like, making my own pieces and selling them. But for Garbage and Glory, I was like, I really want to. I'm gonna do too many paintings in this medium.
So that's I mean, some of the big pieces that you've done for Garbage and Glory, like the one that I'm thinking about particularly is the sewer entrance with the face and stuff like that.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that's the way that is, where you painted that
yeah.
like quote unquote in the real world with Prismacolor on paper and stuff like that, or not Prismacolor,
Yeah, well that's
the acrylics, the watery
yeah.
acrylics.
Yeah, that's all acrylics, and sometimes I'll go in with like little colored pencil details here and there. But yeah, that's pretty much acrylics on illustration board. Um, and then a lot of the smaller like character scenes, those are usually all done digitally too,
Yeah,
just to kind of keep it a little consistent there.
right.
There was there's a couple other small pieces I did that were done traditionally. Um, I don't know. I feel like the nature of like the project too is like, oh, this is kind of, I think it lends itself to um, mixing up. Oh, hello. That's my daughter. I don't know where mom is, Brave. Here, she might be out there somewhere. Oh, there's Prince. That's my oldest.
Uh,
Um, but yeah,
so
I think of like looking through like some of the even like looking through like 40K art or like D&D art,
mm,
like looking at like all the variety of mediums and styles for like the images in there. It's like, oh yeah, this totally lends itself to that.
yeah, and it is. Yeah, I mean, all of the art for it is very vibrant. So, like, you've maintained that across it. So what about that like final piece of it then? Like, if you've got either a digital file or you've got a 17 by 11 piece of paper that you're scanning into the computer, like how do you actually what are your prints like when you go to the con that I just saw you at like two
Yeah,
weeks
yeah.
ago 3 weeks ago, like you're selling prints of these things, so like is that also an in-house thing, or do you have to like order them from somewhere and get them? Like I again, it occurred to me that I have no idea what that part of it is like.
Sure, yeah. I wish it was in-house. I've thought about it. But so there's two kinds of prints I have, aside from stickers. Most of like the digital paintings I do and the traditional paintings, I get them like produced as like G clay prints, which I think I'm saying that right. G
Yeah,
I
that's
E L E E. I keep saying that and no one's corrected me, so I think I'm
I yeah.
right. Yeah, there's like a an out-of-state company that does like Giclée printing, and they honestly they do an awesome job. Like they're very like exacting with like color correctness and getting all the detail and texture. And it's like, I do order proofs from them sometimes just to make sure that things are on track. But there's been a lot of times where it's just like it's just plug and play, and like it just like yeah, that looks exactly like my painting. Like awesome
Yeah.
job. And
Yeah. I mean,
I thought about like getting a Giclée printer for myself, but it's just like a lot of upfront investment and then all the
sure.
troubleshooting. But
Sure.
and then for the screen printing, there's a local guy here in Columbus, Ohio, Upright Press. He does all my screen printing stuff, and he's been a great guy to work with. And I've worked on a bunch of other like professional projects where me and him will work with a client. So, sort of me and him together will work with a client. So he's an awesome screen printer. He knows what he's doing, and yeah,
Yeah, I know. I was going to ask about screen printing. I was thinking about screen printing because some of your pieces look like screen printing. So I guess they are. They are in fact screen printed.
yeah,
So
yeah.
there you go. That's
Yeah,
neat.
it's
Like,
kind of fun to like. It's just a totally different way to like think and work. And I used to actually hate it. Like I used to swear off of screen printing multiple times, but now it's like now I love it. And yeah, forces me to keep things simple and constrain my color palettes, and I love it.
right. I mean, that's sort of the feature of screen printing is that
Yeah,
like it's maybe you'll be ambitious and do 4 colors or 6 colors, but like
right.
it's
Yeah,
it only quote unquote supposed to be a couple colors. You know, it's yeah. I love screen printing. I in a past life I was an art student and I didn't take screen printing until the last semester, and I was like, oh no, I should have taken this the first semester. I would have done way more of this. So I
yeah.
love screen
Same.
printing.
I wish I had done it myself, and I didn't realize how much I would be doing it like outside of school. So
Yeah. All right. So thank you for all of that sort of background and talking about your process and stuff like that. So we want to get into some more specifics. We've ended up talking about Garbage and Glory a bunch already, but like I really want to hear like what, because for those who don't know or are watching this video, like some of our other games, Wet Ink Games saw the art first. Brandon and I came by your booth in 2022 at Origins, and we're like, "Ooh, this art is great. What game could this be?" And then Brandon saw your stickers, your Garbage and Glory, your Raccoon Garbage Adventurer sticker set. I think you had 5 or 6 of them at the time, and it was like, oh, this is something that is gameable. Like giant leaf, camping in the wilderness. Less clear what that would be, but like definitely these you clearly you had the game already there. It's like I want to do adventurers of a D&D sort of style, but raccoons with trash, and it's like it's perfect combination. No notes, let's do it. And so that was the inspiration for the project. So it came from you. So where did that come from? Like you mentioned, like
yeah.
knowing D&D and having played games in the past, but like, was there a specific thing that were like, this is it? This I got to do this. These stickers. Where did it come from?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it was kind of like a silly little like not almost exercise, but just like I don't know. I was trying to think of like I've always liked designing characters and coming up with crazy things, and I thought of this series, just really just simple. Like, yeah, I'll just go through like the vanilla D&D classes, and I've been drawing raccoons a bunch for they're kind of were slash are being kind of a feature of a story long probably passion project down the road story I'm working on. And I don't know, it was kind of an offshoot of that. And I was like, oh, what if they just like made all their stuff out of like garbage and stuff? I think of like Mad Max and like some of those movies and how like imaginative they were with just like
Shoulder
really
pads made out of
reverse
tires, or
engineering all this stuff out of like random garbage, but like in like a weirdly thoughtful way. And I don't know, I like that idea, and I like ramshackle stuff and slapping things together that shouldn't be, and um, designing things that like yeah that probably shouldn't work, but it does. And I don't know, it was just like a silly little series I was having a lot of fun going through, and I honestly never imagined that like I would get to like explore that world beyond just like those little characters. So that was pretty. And as soon as you guys started talking about that, the idea for the game, I was like, oh my gosh, yes. Absolutely. Like there is a whole world here. I would love to build that out.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, that's honestly part of the reason why the project was so appealing in the first place. And not only like because you were so much on board, like, or like, ooh, this is a thing, and you're like, oh, it could be a thing, and then it was just off to the
Mhm.
races, as the saying goes. Like you've done so many visions of the monsters and the threats of this world and different views of the characters. And I talked about the sewer piece where they're getting ready to go into the sewer, and it's this menacing dungeon entrance, or we've got the tavern one where you can kind of see the different
Yeah.
levels of the tavern. It's like trash cans and sewer grates and paneling that's been stacked up,
Mhm.
and all these levels of raccoons boasting and toasting. And it
Roasting and toasting. I love it.
I didn't mean to say that, it just came out that way.
That's beautiful. It's
But
beautiful.
it's so fully realized, and it's like it's almost like the from the writing side that I've been involved with, it's almost like we don't have to do any work at all. You just all the ideas are there in the art. Just write down what you see. It's been so
Oh, thanks.
incredible
I
to
appreciate
to
that.
work together on this project, because you're zoned in already. Like, there was no the art direction was just do more of this. Like it was very and you've clearly got it. And I didn't know that you had sort of a raccoon back project in the back of your mind, raccoon thing. So
Sort of, yeah.
like,
They're not the feature. They're more they're kind of it's kind of like a summer camp gone wrong slash
okay,
murder style thing, and there's like evil raccoon spirits that are like kind of a feature there, but
all
that's a
right,
whole other thing.
yeah,
Hopefully,
yeah,
it'll come to light here sooner rather than later, but we'll see.
right. Hopefully we haven't it sapped all your energy for raccoons.
Oh
uh
no, hey, I'm absolutely happy to put it here. Like no better spot for it.
Uh, so tell me some more about like if you have other stories about like I've gushed about like your raccoon art
Please
from my
continue.
side, but like what is there any pieces that you in particular have enjoyed working on, or like solving the problems of, or visioning, like what's some pieces that you worked on that you're particularly proud of from the body of work that you've done?
Yeah, are you talking like in the context of the game here?
Yeah,
Yeah,
for the Garbage and Glory
um,
game, that
definitely like the big paintings. I was definitely pushing it on some of those, like the rooftop alleyway scene, the trash pub or trash tavern scene, the sewer dungeon. That I don't know. For some reason, I had like that vision in my head for a while, and so that came together pretty quickly. But just, yeah, definitely someone like the perspectives and like the different like pushing the perspective on the trash pub scene and like the alleyway rooftop scene where they're kind of scurrying around was like that was definitely a challenge. But it's like I like really wanted to do that, so it was like I can figure this out. I can make this work, and so I'm super proud of how those turned out. Um, like the colors and the details and the I don't know. It was really fun to like get stuck in those. Even just like coming up with some of the other characters too were like really satisfying, and just spending I've been thinking about trash and garbage a lot. Like I'll literally like sometimes I'll like go into like the kitchen, or like I'll literally be like rooting around in the trash can like what could this be made out of and like um that's been fun to do. Just it's surprising how much thought has to like go into that, like how to like okay what could this be made out of, how would these pieces fit together, and
Right, right. Have I used
also
yogurt cups?
there's a lot of room for like whimsy, and
Hmm.
uh, I
Yeah.
think you can get into like explore other artists more, like looking at like Jim Henson stuff a lot, like some of his like older stuff, um, for kind of like atmosphere and tone where it's like it's whimsical and it's it's puppets and it's seems kid friendly, but there's also like an uneasiness to it and kind of a
Yeah.
foreboding, but not
Yeah.
too much. And I don't know.
Right. Jim
I
Henson, especially early on, did have a lot
oh
of
yeah,
like,
yeah.
even fully grown, fully formed Muppets, there's still a lot of like Muppets eating each other, and like
Oh yeah, yeah. Some of
it's
them are like
sort of
pretty
disturbing, the whole
wild.
world. Um, gosh, and then I mean, Dark Crystal was one of my favorite movies growing up, and that's like seriously dark. There's a lot of darkness in the Dark Crystal.
Oh yeah.
Um,
I don't remember if I saw Dark Crystal growing up. I definitely saw it later and was like, whoa, this is incredible.
yeah, it's it's quite an achievement of the Muppet making craft.
Hmm.
Um, all right. Well, I don't want to end this conversation without giving you a chance to talk about some of your other projects. Like you've mentioned professional work. I know you, do I misremember? Did you win? You got selected to do like some nature stuff? No, you were in a magazine. You were Field and Stream,
Oh
right?
yeah,
You were in a
yeah.
magazine, right? It wasn't like but so you've got pieces that have been, you're not just making art for nerds. You're like a real working artist, right? So tell
I
us about
get
some
to
of
make art for nerds. I get to.
you get to make art for nerds. Uh,
It's a privilege.
um, so tell us about some of your other, if you've got anything you want to shout out that like, oh, I've got this series coming out, or like, I'm working on these prints, or check I'm making the poster for a beer fest. I don't know, anything that you want to like shout out about that that you're working on, or that is coming soon from you.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, Garbage and Glory, like finishing this up here, that's like the big thing right now, that I'm definitely like most excited about. Um, there's a lot of other projects I'm working on that I cannot discuss.
Ooh,
Let's
NDAs all around.
yeah, they're actually, I mean, they're cool, and I'm very happy to be working on them. But it's purely like I can't talk about it yet because they need to do it. But yeah, I mean that's the big thing. I'm definitely looking forward to like um kind of like what's next after finishing this up here. Like I feel like there's like a bunch of like ideas brimming in my head, and I'm like, I don't know, I'm like weird, as crazy as this has all been. I'm like weirdly I energized to like keep going and see what's next. So, but yeah, I'm most of like my thought is like, okay, let's finish up Garbage and Glory. Let's get this done. Let's make it awesome, and that's what I'm super jazzed about right now.
Okay, well, and that's fair. I am also super jazzed to get it done and finished and out there. It is been been in development for a while, and it'll be good to put the final pieces together and have it be ready for everyone to like it. I will tell one. I meant to tell the story to you, and I'm sure you've heard it, but like quickly before I forget it, everyone that we've talked about, we show them your stickers from day one, from the day we bought the stickers. Everyone we like, we're making a game about these, and we show them the stickers, and people are like, yes, I want to write for that. Like no other question. So they're just
Yeah.
like, yes. So our writing team has been excited about it from the beginning. So
Yeah, it's been cool. Like just catching little snippets of what you guys are working on is like, oh man, this is so good. There's some it's
yeah.
it's such a joy to read it.
Right. So putting it all together will be great. Great. So last thing from you, Sam, like where can people find more about you if they need some of these art prints, they want some garbage, or they want some raccoon stickers, they want to, uh, commission, do you take commission? I don't know, like whatever. Where can people get a hold of you
Yeah.
on the internet?
Yeah, so you can find depending on my schedule, I do commissions and freelance work all the time. So you can find me at um my website at brickdraw.com. That's BRIECKDRAW.com. And you can find a link to my shop there as well, where I sell all most of my prints. And I currently have stickers on there, but I will be releasing a massive sticker pack with like all my other stickers and all the raccoon characters here very soon. So you can find it there. I'm also on Instagram at brickdraw, where you can find more recent works and snippets of little in progress things and finished stuff that I'm doing there too.
Awesome, awesome. And I will put those in the description of the video as well, so that people can make sure they get it spelled right when they go.
Spilling it out on camera. I was like, oh, this feels old fashioned, but I guess that's what I'll do.
Um, Yeah. So Sam, thank you so much for your time today and
Yeah, hey
talking
Matt,
about
thanks so
this,
much.
and thank you for working on this project with us over the last year. It's been wonderful.
Oh hey, yeah, thanks for looking to me to make this happen. Like it's been awesome working with you guys, and I'm excited to get it out there.
Yeah, and good luck on your future endeavors.
Yeah, thanks. You too, Matt.